Hello and welcome to the Clock End Talk, an Arsenal podcast. Usually, however, we have cracked into the Euros 2021. So, yes, we are back. I am your host, Tez. You can get me at Guna Tez. As always, Tony's with me. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. New intro as well. Only a 30-second timer. Usually you say, oh, let's get ready. And then I go and look at stuff online and mess about or reply to a few WhatsApps and come back and there's still 25 seconds left today. 25 seconds only. Jesus.
And Schwinn, how are you, buddy?
Doing very well. Glad to be back. Been a while. I think the last time we spoke, the Super League were still alive. So yeah, that feels like ages ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, mate. It does. That come and gone very quickly. That one. So yeah, mate. MWA Gunner, he's with us. How are you, buddy? He says he likes the background, and that's we're here for the Euros. You like my little theme, boys? You can see who I'm barracking for in the Euros. Up the pasta eaters, and let's go fucking Italy.
Can you just tell me where the R is in pasta?
Fuck off, cunt. Fuck off. Hey, you don't. You don't fucking start picking on my accent now.
It's not an accent. You're using letters that aren't there.
I was lost what I was going to say now. Oh, Schwinn's not really into Euros, so I don't know if he's going to stick around for long. He was talking before the show. He said, I don't really know much about it and stuff. So we're going to flip it a little bit, Tony, and we're going to get into the Arsenal rumours. And we'll cover that transfer stuff that we've all been seeing the last week or so on Twitter and everywhere else. And then we'll get into our Euro predictions. And if Schwinn wants to disappear into the wilderness back to wherever he came from, he can. Sound like a plan?
He just said he stepped outside his house 5 times in 8 weeks. He's going to watch every second of the Euros.
I never denied that. I just said I have no idea like what the brackets look like, and I don't know what the teams are like. So I'll be completely in the blind going into that discussion.
When you had clear clarity, you said Alexis Sanchez was going to win the Golden Boot when he signed for Man United. So maybe going in blind is a tactic that might work for you.
Well, you were the minority here because the other person on the show was raving about Van de Beek. So I think me and Tez are on the same page. You know what I'm saying?
Research didn't do you any favors.
Okay. Tony, rumours keep coming out every day, mate, to be honest. And I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball because it's happened like while I'm sleeping, and then I wake up and see more rumours popping out. Mate, so I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm just going to comment because I'm not even really sure where we're even up to now.
Yeah, I mean, most of the rumours can get fucked as far as I'm concerned, but I'll go through them probably individually, and then we can talk about our thoughts on them. So obviously, the first one and probably the biggest one, the one that's made the most noise and had the most attention, was a rumoured bidding war between us and Aston Villa that we lost out on. So depending on what journalist you believe, some say we definitely bid once, and then Villa went and topped it, and we didn't bid again. Some say we didn't bid at all, but we were interested, and then others seem to think we lost out to Villa despite trying as hard as possible, and he chose Villa over us. I don't know which one of them is true. I don't have a clue. From my point of view, I'm not the biggest fan of Buendia. I think he's been massively overrated by fans. I know I'm in the minority, but people, the way I'm seeing social media is like we missed out on like an established world-class player. And I've actually seen people describing, I can't believe we missed out on a world-class player for so little money. And I'm like, the guy got one goal in the Premier League. Yeah, he created a lot of chances, but Norwich weren't a defense. They weren't one of them teams that went down just trying to park the bus. They did try and play football, and that's probably why they went down. And yeah, like people say, we missed out on genuine world class. I'm like, behave yourself. Like he could be good. I'm not saying he's shit, but for me, I wouldn't have paid the 40+ million for him. And look, obviously Arsenal have got to get someone as good or better. Which do I trust Arsenal to do that? Not particularly, but I'm not incredibly sold on Buendia. I mean, obviously, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it.
I look, the only thing I kind of come into was, you know, the suggested or reported bidding war, and people are going, oh, we missed out again. But you know, like, I don't think it's a case of that, because if you really want something, and like, it wasn't an extravagant amount of money that we have reportedly missed out on. We're talking 2-3 million or something. So, okay, £1 million, $6 million. But I think Arsenal, they if they really, really wanted him, they could have found that money quite easy. It's not a case of we couldn't afford him. Like, I just don't think they wanted him as much as Villa.
I think that's exactly spot on. I mean, I think the term bidding war is seriously exaggerated. It seems like, if you are to believe that we did make a bid, you know, let's explore that first. If we really wanted him, as you said, we'd probably battle Villa, and, you know, we'd have going into the negotiation, we'd have a price in mind that we're willing to stretch ourselves up to. And it seems like we didn't want to go further, which tells me we probably have other choices, you know, and we have other preferences, and he's probably not that high on that list.
No, that's what I was thinking. You know, if we're talking 40, 50s, then I'm thinking, okay, Arsenal have said, no, we're not going that high, and they obviously cut off at what was it reported, 33?
Well, it was like 33 with, I think it was 5 or 7 basically guaranteed bonuses, because when you put clauses in, some of them can be outrageous, like we'll give you an extra 2 million if he wins World Player of the Year while giving Lionel Messi a piggy bank. So obviously it's not going to happen, but it's there. It looks pretty. And then other times there's clauses that if he takes one more breath of oxygen, then we have to pay you £2 million.
Okay.
So these have been classed as I can't remember if it's not guaranteed, but basically it's almost guaranteed that these bonuses will be met. Like, for example, just to, like, when PSG signed Mbappe, one of their clauses was if we don't get relegated, we have to pay X amount. Obviously, PSG are never going to get relegated. So, like, some of them are achievable bonuses and some of them are not. So it's meant to be 40 million, including achievable bonuses plus a sell-on clause. Not clear what it'll be a low percentage. I'd imagine 10%, but it's not like officially came out what that percentage is.
No. Let's go to the next one, Tony.
Where to go next? Ruben Neves, I guess. I guess this comes from pretty much it being universally known that Xhaka's off now. Everywhere's reporting it. We're yet to find out a figure, but it seems he's off to Roma. And I hope, personal opinion, that this is his agent putting Ruben Neves' name out there. But we're strongly being linked with a move for Ruben Neves for 35 million. Just again, from my point of view, one, I don't want him. I have no interest in him. I said on here over a year ago, I don't rate him. Nothing's changed. And also definitely not for 35 million. So yeah, for me, I hope it's total bullshit, and I believe it's total bullshit. But maybe I'm just being optimistic.
Yeah. I, as most of you know, I follow Roma. I also do an Arsenal podcast and follow Arsenal with all my heart as well. However, Roma are trying to lowball Arsenal here, and this is my little bit of a worry. Like, I see a really good. I like Granit. It's no secret. I've always admired Granit on the field. I've always admired what he can do. So, hey, am I happy that he's going to my other team? Absolutely, I am. But let's be realistic. I'm not going to be happy if Arsenal get 14 million for it. That was what originally the Roma ITKs, Roma News reported, that Roma tried to do a low ball to Arsenal, 14 million. I think there was a couple of bonuses. I'm not even sure what the bonuses are, but I just look at it as a base of 14 million pounds. That is just ridiculous, I think, for Granit. Arsenal, I think to myself, they've obviously got to get more. What that is, I don't know. Last I heard, I think was 24 hours ago, was 23 to 25 million coming out of Roma. They have upped it. Apparently, Mourinho does want him, and the plans are to build a team around Granit at Roma. Is that still a little bit low for me being the Arsenal fan? I still think it is a little bit low. I think 20, 25 million pound. I'm thinking, here's a bloke who you build a team around in your midfield, and he's a very, very important player for Arsenal. So, but I don't know what the market is. I don't know. I would have liked to think we get around the 30 for Granit, 30, 32, 33 maybe. That's kind of where I'm at on it. But, hey, if it happens for 25, well, it's better than 14. Ruben Neves, I don't know what people see in him, to be honest. Somebody said to me, he usually pops on this show. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he pops on, and he said to me yesterday on a chat, he was talking about Ruben, and he's like, if we get 25 million for Granit, we only got to throw 10 million and we get Ruben. And I'm like, I don't know if they're not a like-for-like player to start with. So, but they all, Arsenal fans all think that he's a better option. I'm not convinced. I don't know. I take out the money. I'm not convinced he's a better player, though. So, I don't know. Schwinn, your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I think you're right. It'll be hard to convince people that he's a better player. I mean, firstly, in terms of Granit, I think the market is a bit depressed. And of course, there's always the Premier League tax. So you end up paying a bit higher than market when buying within the Premier League or when the Premier League club is buying. I think we'll miss him to an extent. Maybe his presence, he's obviously been someone who's controlled our flow. And you could argue that's not been good enough. And you'd probably be correct. And his time at Arsenal is a very polarizing one. I think if you ask people if he is to leave this summer, whether he was a success or not, you'd find people on both sides, and they'd probably have decent arguments. But I do like the business. I do like the fact that we're moving him on. He's at a decent age, I think, 29, probably just off his peak or somewhere in that region. We know it doesn't quite work for us with him. Despite his many qualities, and I think especially this season, he's been pretty good. And I saw a statistic the other day that he's only been cautioned 7 times this past season, which is a dramatic improvement on what he was like in his early days.
Yeah, he's got better.
Yeah, good business. On Neves, I find it's a tricky one because if you look at his metrics, if that's what we're going to go by, then Granit is better than him in most categories, at least in terms of the numbers. But it's a different dynamic, isn't it? Because Neves would be next to Partey. I know Tony's not a big fan at all. I understand why, especially for that price tag. But would it be a complete flop? I mean, fast forward to the end of the summer, if we've got a decent right back, someone that is going to be able to hold down that spot, we have a good number 10, and we have Neves, I exactly won't be complaining. I'm not exactly sure what our plans are for this market, what our finances look like, and what's the pot like to spend. So I'm not quite sure where we are at the moment, and it's difficult to really project that. Okay, if not Neves, then who is it? Who will be holding down that spot? And of course, the other name that comes up is Bissouma, right? And I'm not sure with the AFCON coming up, would that be a wise deal? I mean, I know deals are made for longer timeframes in mind, but with Partey and Bissouma both gone during January, that could be a difficult spot to be in.
Well, I'm convinced, and I have been for a while, that we're going to get Bissouma. No inside knowledge, obviously. I don't know fuck all about anything. But I'm convinced that he's Arsenal bound. I think we probably buy 2. Because even like if you're going to include El Neni, even if we do get a non-African, you're still looking at the African Cup of Nations at the moment. El Neni goes, Partey goes, so that's our whole depth of midfield anyway. So I think we buy 2 anyway. And as I said, I think for me, for whatever reason, as I said, I don't know why I'm convinced. I just am that we're going to get Bissouma. I'm not as big a fan of him as everyone else. I'm not saying he's a bad player, far from it, but he's another one I think is overrated. But for the reported 30, 35, which is obviously the next rumor we're going to go on to, I think it's a good deal. if it can
Just
get done.
quickly, Tony, before you move on to that, I just want to get your thoughts on, because I'm thinking in my head, right? I'm thinking, okay, Granite goes. I'm looking at our back line next year. I'm thinking Gabriel, Mafropanos. We don't know what's happening. Gabriel, Chambers, Pablo. I'm looking at the centre backs or who can play them positions. And then I'm looking in front of the midfield. I'm thinking Partey, Ruben. I'm thinking Smith Rowe in front of them. So for me, I don't know. The whole dynamics shifts with Ruben. Like, I don't know if he fits our style at the moment, but
Yeah, I think he's shit. Not shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
shit. But also I worry about not only that, like we lose a hell of a lot of physicality. Granit often covers for especially Tierney. And Ruben Neves ain't going to do that. We lose a lot of aerial strength. We may gain a tiny bit of passing accuracy, not much, but a tiny bit. But is it worth it for all you're losing? On the other hand, as I said, where if the conversation now shifts to does Basuma take over from Xhaka, then you go, okay, you're adding pay. You're probably losing a bit of passing accuracy, but you're adding a better engine, better pace, better winning at the ball, and you're like, okay, I can see the trade-off. With Neves, I can't see. As I said, the passing improvement is marginal. If it's there at all, it's marginal. And apart from that, you lose so many other things. Look, if as I said, I think we're going to sign 2, and if it's Bissouma and Neves, would I hate it? No. I mean, I still don't rate him. And that's probably what it boils down to. I don't like the player, but I wouldn't be as against it if we signed 2, and the other one is a good quality player. But if we're only signing 1, I think him would be a terrible buy.
Okay.
But so Wolves fans are disgusted that 35 million. They think he's 50 plus.
I don't
know what they see in him. No, their fans like think he's the second coming of God. Like I don't know what. Obviously, and look, they watch him every week. But
look, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But I just worry about the whole structure on with him and Partey. I'm thinking, and we said it this season, a lot did fall on Partey's shoulders. He was asked to do too much, But I just don't know how they work. I could be totally wrong. Arteta might go, no, we're going to play a different formation. We're doing this, and this. I don't. So you know what I mean. Like, it's very, very early before next season. I don't know where the pieces go.
Yeah. I said this on Twitter, and it's not anyone we're linked with or anything. But if you gave me the option of James Ward-Prowse or Ruben Neves, I'd take Ward-Prowse every single time without hesitation. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but
yeah.
So I mean, as soon as Villa tied up Buendia, it was their next target's Ward-Prowse, and they were talking about 25 to 30 million. I'm not sure Southampton will sell, to be honest, because they're probably going to lose Ings, and losing Ward-Prowse means they lose their 2-star men in the same summer. But as I said, if you're talking Neves for 35 or Ward-Prowse for 25, 30, even for the same price for me, I would 100% go Ward-Prowse. And so if you're saving 5 10.
Yeah. Well, the reason I like Ward-Prowse is he's consistently, he gives you that same game every day. Like, you know what you're going to get out of him. So, I've got no worries about that, but I don't think that'll happen at Arsenal.
No, it's not even anything that's been talked about. But as I said, I'm saying if they're for the money they're talking about being available, I know what direction I'd be heading in.
Okay, let's go to the next rumour.
Probably we've not spoke about it too much on here. Let's go for Onana, the Ajax keeper, who is currently on a drugs ban, not allowed to play, not allowed to train. He had his court hearing sometime last week. By all accounts, he provided a good explanation of why he was found with illegal substances in his body. And it seems to be from the press reporting, and obviously I say from the press, that we've agreed a deal that if the ban is continued to January or thereabouts, we sign him for 2 million. And if he gets allowed to play in September or sooner, we're playing between 6 and 9. But The press are making it seem almost done. Obviously, again, I don't know more than anyone else. My opinions on the deal: I really dislike Leno, as most people will know. And Onana can kick the ball, and he's commanding. He comes out for the ball. He will make mistakes. He's not perfect, and he will do things where you think, "What the fuck are you actually doing?" But I think he gives you a hell of a lot, and for anywhere below 10 million, I personally, I would rather his ban is overturned and we pay the extra and we get him sooner or get him able to play sooner than saving a few million quid. But yeah, I mean, as the way the press are talking is like that deal's done and we're just waiting for the result of the court hearing. Instead, I'll pass it over to you guys with your thoughts on that.
I haven't got much thoughts about him. I'd be honest, I haven't seen him play much or anything. I don't think. I got no idea about the bloke, to be honest. I go on what I've been told. Addy tells me he's great. People tell me he's really good young keeper. My young bloke, Chelsea fan, said he's a really good young keeper as well. So I must have been living under a rock. I don't know. But I can't say I remember sitting there and watching him play 10 games. I honestly couldn't. So I don't know much about him. Seems like, from what everyone's saying, it's a good deal regardless of what his appeal is. So it's an upgrade on Leno. Happy days.
Yeah, that's where I am with it. Not seen him play much other than, some Ajax Champions League games. But by all accounts, as you said, Tez, he's rated well. And, Addy, of course, as you said, has mentioned it. And so have a lot of other people on the social platforms. What's interesting to me is the business, once again. As Tony said, if we're able to get this across the line at these quoted prices for a starting goalkeeper, that's really smart business. And that may allow us to offload Leno, who seems to be getting itchy feet anyway. And that could result in a net positive for us, at least financially speaking, and opens funds to invest elsewhere. And maybe then suddenly our budget goes from Neves to Aouar, hypothetically speaking, and it allows for certain other reinforcements, maybe in the right back position, the number 10 position. I know right now it looks like Martin Odegaard is the one that we'll go for, and I know that makes Tony mad. So maybe we can invest that extra cash there and get another number 10 or attacker of a different profile.
I'd rather keep Lennon.
So I think it's, again, smart business to do some of these deals and try and find space in the market, right? And it's not the sort of business we've done so far. And it's been a huge problem when it comes to the long-term planning and finding those hidden deals, because it's you just don't find hidden gems anymore that easily. So you got to find the right deals, and I think we're managing some of this stuff really well. I hope it goes through as well, and if we can get him to start playing in this, with the beginning of the season, that would be fantastic.
For those who say, when I say I haven't seen him either, I like to watch a player for a good 10 games before I have an opinion. Like, I'm not going to make an opinion on a bloke that I've maybe seen 3 times.
Well, it's hard with keepers at top clubs as well, because how often do you see them tested as well? Like, you know what I mean? You could watch 10 Ajax games and he only
it's still not really enough. Yeah. So I just thought I'd clear that up, because people are like, "Oh, have you never heard of him?" I have heard of him, watched him a couple of times, but I don't watch him week in, week out. So, Archie says Aouar is cheaper than Neves. Do you realise?
Is he really? I did not realize. No,
I didn't. Well,
as I said, the idea was that you have a higher level of player than Neves. Does Aouar only have a season left on his contract, or what?
I'm not sure, but Lyon are in trouble, and I think Aulas has said that they've had bids for multiple players because they're financially fucked. The French league took a real bad hit due to COVID. Obviously, they ended the season early. There's probably some fines related to that. Not this season, obviously last season, and then and I think basically they were all relying on Champions League football pretty much. And Lyon obviously getting the quarterfinals, or semi-finals the year before, would have hoped for it again. I'm not sure where they come in the league, but I don't think they've done brilliantly. Obviously, Lille won it, PSG come second. I just think financially they're in a bad place. They're losing Depay on a free, so they're not going to get money for one of their stars.
Is he going for free?
Yeah, his contract's up.
Oh, fuck, that's pretty good.
So yeah, they're losing him for free. Dembele, obviously, they loaned out the second half of the season, so they're going to lose him, and he didn't do anything really while he was away on loan, so his value isn't going to be fantastic. Anderson, they'll probably make a bit of money on because they loaned him out, and I know Fulham got relegated, but he done pretty well. But in all, they're in a bad financial position, which is why they've dropped their demands on most players. I don't think Arsenal will go back for Aouar. There's been a load of reports that they've continued watching him since. He's had a bad season by all accounts, and his brother is an absolute arsehole, and his brother happens to be his agent, and that makes things really hard. I mean, this time last year, his brother was demanding a £15 million agent fee. So even if you're talking about a reduced transfer fee of 25 to 28, what's his brother now going to do? And will his brother come with his tail between his legs and demand a normal transfer fee after demanding a ludicrous one less than 12 months ago? So for me, I can't see it happening. I don't think he's a bad player. A lot of people are hammering him because he has had a bad season. I don't think he's a bad player, but I'm not particularly sure I want him. And that's maybe a bit unfair because this time a year ago I probably did, but I just kind of don't really know stylistically where he fits. He's not really a 10 in that he's not a chance creation monster. He's not. He can't play any deeper. He can't really play out wide. He can drift out there, but he can't really play there. I'm just not entirely sure where he fits. Like, at least with Ruben Neves, as much as I don't rate or want him, he's like, you know what I mean? You go, he's a centre midfielder and he sits next to Partey. With Aouar, I'm not really sure where he would sit. And this is a problem I find with a lot of the players we're linked in. And you mentioned it when we're talking about Neves, Tez, that you kind of go, even if you think they're a good player or not, you kind of like, but where do they fit? And I think we're probably going to change to a bit more flatter 4-3-3. And I think the 10 will sign, or who plays, will be someone that's much more able to link up with the midfield and be more like an 8, but they can also play as a 10, which is, it suits Smith Rowe down to the ground. And I could kind of see how it could suit Odegaard if it were to be him, because he's not a traditional chance creation number 10, although some people seem to think he is. He's a tick over player, keeps the ball ticking over, and he tries some hard passes. And this is not me in any way saying I want him. I still want him absolutely nowhere near the club. But for me, that's the mold we're trying to go for. Is it's an 8 come 10, I think, is what we're trying to do. So it could be more of a flatter 3 at times, especially if one of them 3 is or even 2 of them are good at covering for fullbacks, because I think that's where our width comes from. And then I think the 3 up front will have a striker, and the 2 wide men won't really be wide. So say like Pepe on the right won't be a touchline hugger. We'll have an overlapping right back, and then Pepe probably like the width of the area, and then whoever it be on the left, probably Saka, the width of the area, with Tierney going outside him. And as I said, a 10 come 8. That's how it looks like we're going to play by the names we're linked with, and it's trying to fit players into that mold.
Do you think, like, I keep looking back at where Arteta done his apprenticeship, and he done it under Pep, no secret. Do you think that's the style he feels he's got to go for, but a cheaper alternative to Pep's players? Because we're not going to match them players, and we're not going to match City. But I understand Arteta's thinking. Well, that's pretty much what he knows, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think so. Especially with City, a lot of the time they play 2 8s, or they'll play one, like, so Mahrez obviously hugs the touchline, and then the fullback will hug the touchline on the other side to create width. Look, I mean, he knows that, and it's not. I wouldn't even call it copying City, because you look throughout, especially the Premier League, a lot of teams play similar. Like, you look at, say, United, I'm just saying them because they come second. There's Bruno at 10, midfielders behind, Rashford on the left generally, maybe Greenwood on the right, and then Cavani at 9. So it's a similar sort of thing. You look at Liverpool, and they're a bit different. They're more what I think how we're going to play, where Salah and Mane play behind the 9, but they're quite narrow. They're not wingers, and they get their width from their fullback. And Liverpool tend to, when they're at their best, play 2 defensive midfielders, Fabinho and Henderson. Henderson's got a bit more of an engine, but he is essentially a holding midfielder or Wijnaldum, and then someone a tiny. I mean, ideally for them, they'd take Keita there, but he's made of biscuits and is always injured. But I think we're gonna look more like Liverpool next season than City, to be honest.
What else you got there?
In terms of ins, I can't think of too much. I mean, there's been loads of soft links. There's been random right backs that we've been linked with. There was a story about Brandt today or yesterday.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
I quite like that. I don't believe it, but he's a tired player. Said he can play wide. He can play an 8/10. So that's one I don't mind, but I'm not going to go too much into it because there was one link from one random shit publication. In terms of outs,
just beforehand, I just want your thoughts. Sorry, and I know you're a fan of Jack Grealish. I am too. We both mentioned it a couple of years ago when he was playing in the championships. I like watching the bloke. I see a few reports. I almost kind of feel that Arsenal may be his next destiny. And I know nothing, but I just get that feeling that Jack Grealish will be an Arsenal player.
That feeling, there's a name for it. It's called optimism, or maybe called being really unrealistic. There's one of two. For me, Jack Grealish will, and he's probably my favourite non-Arsenal player. He will be in one of two places next season for me. That's either Aston Villa or Man City. It's a pipe dream. Look, I think we would all love him to be at Arsenal. I don't think you'd find anyone that's against that. But I think there's very, very little chance of it happening. As I said, this isn't what I want. I remember we said 2 years ago, if we could sign name one player we could sign, like being realistic, you can't say Messi or Ronaldo. He was my one then, and he was just coming up from the championship. So this isn't what I want when I say there's absolutely no chance of it happening, but there's absolutely no chance of it happening.
Okay. Fuck. You know to burst the man's bubble, don't you? Okay, go on.
I don't know, Schwinn, have you got a load of positivity for him, and you've got Grealish on the back of your shirt?
No, I was going to say you were being quite generous when you said optimism, because to me it was more delusion than optimism.
Fucking hell.
I can see why there may be links. You know, they've just signed Buendia, and maybe they're looking.
He's dropped out.
Sorry, I don't see it happening. It'll be a hefty fee, and there's no way we can afford that. Surely.
I mean, look, if the fee, I would pay it. Not me personally. I mean, as a club, we'd pay it, but I just think there's. To be honest, he's one of the best players in Europe at the moment.
Hey, what's the fee? What are we talking?
Well, there is no fee.
Yeah. Okay. Are we thinking he's $100 million player? $100 million
pounds, probably a bit less. I think Maguire's the British record at basically 80, and I think Grealish would be competing for that.
Wow. Okay.
But look, I would pay that for him. But as I said, there's bigger fish to fry if you're him, and
it's not Arsenal.
No.
What else you got? Outs.
Yeah. So. The probably one of the most concrete, obviously, apart from Xhaka, which we've touched on, is it seems that there's a few Spanish and Italian teams in for Bellerin, and it seems we've set a price of 20 million. For me, if we can get 20 million for him, look, he seems like a nice lad, seems like a good bloke. He's not very good at football, and if we can get 20 million for him, I think there'll be multiple Arsenal fans offering to drive him to whatever destination he ends up, just to make sure he arrives and we get the money. As I said, he's been a loyal servant, and I don't wish him bad, and I hope he succeeds wherever he goes. And he loves the club. He's always said he'd have no interest in playing in the Premier League because Arsenal. He's a what's it called when he's an adopted Londoner. And I'm saying all these positive things, but the reality is, if we can get 20 million from Sevilla, Villarreal, I mean, I don't really care who pays us it, but if they pay us it, just send him there very quickly and wish him all the best.
Okay. I got nothing to comment on outs, really.
Bye-bye, Hector. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I really am. Like, when the team finishes like we did and they've played the last two seasons, all I can think is this team does need a shake-up, and if we go in with these players next season, well, you're looking 8th, 9th. We're just not good enough, boys. We're not good enough to compete with Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester City. We need a shake-up. So I don't care who goes.
It's not so much of an out because there's nothing concrete. Like we a lot of people think Laka will go. Guendouzi seems to be gone, but he's been gone anyway. No one really cares about him. So there's no more like sort of outs to talk about. But all the press, or Fabrizio started it, but a lot of the press are reporting today that Emil Smith-Rowe signed until 2026. You don't need to ask me about how delighted I am about that. I'll pass it over to your thoughts. And I know people say opinions can't be wrong, but be careful here because they definitely can.
I'm happy. Look, if he signed a deal 2026, happy days. Like, you know, he's an academy player, come up through the ranks, proved everybody wrong, done everything right, went out on loan when he was asked to, played well on loan, come back, made the first team, and he's cracking on. Happy days for the bloke. That's exactly the story you want to see from a young footballer. Coming through your own academy, you know, you're not paying big money for this bloke. So my problem is, though, I guess, at what point, you know, 2026, what point do you look to say, do we cash in on this bloke in 2024? Like, I wonder at what point that's a struggle for a club in a few years' time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-year extension is very long. So it shows they're serious and they want to build. Because, I mean, he has a year to go. I guess it's a 4-year extension. Oh, no, does he have a year or two? Either way, it's a long contract. Which pleases me. And look, it can always go the wrong way. We've seen players before where they've got a long contract and they've got injured and you're kind of like, for fuck's sake, we're stuck with this guy. But I think that's one of the risks you have to take. If you want people like this to hang around long term, you can't keep giving them 2-year contracts and then hope that loyalty stays on their side when you're not showing it. So for me, it is a long-term contract. But I mean, between him, Saka, and probably Martinelli, they're the 3 people you'd be happy to see long-term contracts given to, because they are potentially, and Tierney, to add to that, to be fair, they're potentially where the future comes from. Or not even the future. They should be where the future comes from. The issue is that they're where the present comes from as well. So I'd imagine his wages are quite high because, or the contract's heavily incentivized. I think we might be doing what Tottenham are doing, where he's on a good wage for his level now, but if he makes a certain amount of appearances, then his wage goes up. Because obviously he's not. I don't think he'll sign a flat fee deal now that ties him in for 5 years. Like, say on 40k a week, just for example, he's not going to, like, in 3 years' time, he could be a regular England international that's seen as one of the best 10s in the world, or I mean, might be going a bit over the top, and still on 40k a week. So I'd imagine it'll be an incentivized contract. But yeah, and look, as I said, there's always going to be that risk, but I think it's a risk worth taking.
And also, as a fan of, and you know, once again, I'm a Roma fan, and I look at Roma, and you look at the roots of, you know, the Totties and the De Rossis who have been there forever and a day. You know, they're part of the furniture. And if Smith-Rowe becomes that bloke at Arsenal, hey, I'm happy. Like, if he's a one-man club for his whole life and retires, fucking beauty. Build him a statue. Like, you know, just that is loyalty goes a long way as well. So yeah, I'm happy for the kid.
He's earned it, hasn't he? I mean, ever since the turn of the year, pretty much our results are a contrast compared to especially those first 14 games, excluding Fulham, of course. And he deserves it. There's no two ways about it. He's been one of the bright sparks in an otherwise dull second half of the season, a disappointing second half of the season. And he, as you said, Tez, we'd like for him to stay around, improve at the club. And again, smart business, you know, coming back to that point, you know, it's been hard and we've been harsh on the club, rightfully so, because some of the deals they've tried to execute, Willian, Alex Runarsson, in particular, just haven't worked out. So to see this sort of proactivity and recognition is good for a change. And I'm sure Tony's probably going to get onto this, but just quickly, it seems like Willian's out of the club as well, or at least on his way out of the club, which is very welcome news. Going to free up some space in the squad financially as well, and been an absolute dud. So the fact that we'll be able to get him off, hopefully, is very, very welcoming.
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch on Willian just because there's been loads of reports saying he's going, but no, like nothing concrete as in this club are looking at him or he's going here or there. And look, I have no doubt the club want him to go, but I always find it hard to like talk about transfers when it's like there's no meat on the bone. Like, do I think he'll go? Probably, but at the moment we're looking at, is there a fee? Do we give him away? Where's he even going? What country? Like, not even what club. Like, where's he going to take on his wages? Is he going to take a cut in wages? There's so many unknowns that I think at the moment it just looks very flimsy. Like, I don't, if a transfer in had this sort of press, we wouldn't even be considering it at this point. It's just because we want Willian gone. I think we're taking it seriously. But for me, obviously, I want him to go. But until there's any meat on the bones, I don't even really think it's worth talking about.
How about Saliba to Newcastle on loan then? You want to talk about that?
Yeah. For me, that's a bizarre one because all the news coming out of Arsenal is that they're intent on keeping him and giving him pre-season absolute minimum to see what, like, if he's ready to play for the club, essentially. The Newcastle guy that reported it, Lee Ryder, I follow him because he posts team news stuff occasionally. And he's not the most reliable. Everyone knows I've always argued against this tier system anyway because it's biased on who you like. I saw people going, "Oh, it's from Lee Ryder, a tier 1 Newcastle source." I'm like, I'm not sure he is. And then some people were going, "He's tier 3." I don't even know what that means. But yeah, I can't see it happening. Look, it may be towards the last week of the transfer window if there's a chance of players like that to go out on loan. I think we'll keep him, but I don't think there's anything to that story yet. As I said, that you'd at least want to see how he trains, if he's improved. Like, you'd take him to America for the pre-season to be with the group. But look, this time, well, not this time, but at the start of the season last year, Rob Holding was minutes away from going to, or hours away from going to Newcastle on loan, and in the end probably played more minutes than any other centre-back. So we know, the one truth we know of this story is Newcastle want a centre-back. Beyond that, I think it's all nonsense, to be honest. I mean, even when Lee Ryder reported it, he said, "Oh, it'd be a very easy deal to do," and it's like, so that's obviously opinion. There's no fact in that. He didn't say it's been done. He said it's very easy to do, and I just feel like that's not true at all because everyone in France would want him. I mean, he was nominated for the Young Team of the Year, and he only got there in January. So everyone in France would want him. I'm sure there's multiple clubs across Europe that wanted him. So for me, that I think it's a bit pie in the sky from the Newcastle guy, and maybe a bit of wishful thinking.
This is the one which really, really irks me. If there is any meat on the bone, as you may, because so far we've said that Arsenal are planning on, or at least looking to do some good business. This one just sort of sticks out like a sore thumb. He's in his 3rd year of the deal with us, and I feel like if we are going to loan him out, or whether it's to Newcastle or elsewhere, we're just tanking the price, and it just doesn't make sense to me what's going on with him. I hope that it's just people firing in the dark at the moment, but we've always heard murmurs of there being some sort of disagreement or potential conflict between Arteta and Saliba, and we spent a lot of money on the kid, and he has shown his worth, at least playing in France. So I do hope he gets the offseason at the very least, and otherwise that's another spot to fill up, which is going to be extremely challenging.
Well, before Tej jumps in, sorry, the news from his camp is that he's desperate to play for Arsenal. Of course, you're going to say that he's under contract at Arsenal, but I don't see, from his point of view, why would you want to go on loan to Newcastle? Like, do you know what I mean? You'd stay in France, you got your mates and your family there, and it's your homeland, and you can go and order whatever the French version is of fish and chips, snails, I guess. No problem. Why would you want to go to a place where, frankly, they speak funny? It's cold. It's raining all the time. Like, there's just nothing there for him. For me, I can't see it. So maybe I'm wrong, but just using my logic, I just can't see it.
Did you just say because they speak funny?
Have you ever been to Well, I know you've never been to Newcastle. They speak funny.
Because they speak funny. What a classic. Okay. What else we got? Anything else before we go on?
Schwinn, any others that I've missed?
I suppose we could talk about the striker situation before I dip out, and I'll let you boys carry on with the Euros.
Yeah. So for me, I think Lacazette goes for not much money. Obviously, he's only got a year left. I don't think we sign one. I think we go into the season with 3 strikers being Aubameyang, Martinelli, and Balogun. I think Eddie goes as well, and we go in with 3. And if we then qualify for Europa League or Champions League, then we buy a striker next season with the money we've raised this summer from it. Because you don't need 4 going into the season if you've only got 1 competition. He said he wants to give Balogun time and minutes. We know Martinelli is always going to be sniffing around if he can stay fit. And I think Aubameyang, the left wing experiment's done. So for me, my personal opinion, it will be them 3, with obviously Aubameyang having the bulk of the minutes, and the other 2 playing as and when. That's what I expect to happen. I can't really. I don't think there'd be too much that would persuade me otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I see things panning out in a similar way. And just quickly before we go to Tez, that's a tough one to solve. I feel for Arteta when it comes to that, because we only got the Premier League basically to concentrate on, and we'll have the cup games, and that's when we give the younger boys a run out. But if Aubameyang gets injured, that's a tricky space to be in. But at the same time, you don't want to buy a youngster who's just gonna be the same risk as a Balogun or maybe less than a Martinelli, and he's just going to eat up minutes. And any other alternative, maybe with a bit more experience or a bit more quality, is going to cost quite a bit, and at the same time is going to chew up minutes. Balogun's been, he's been given a new contract, which it took a while to get him to sign. Martinelli, of course, has shown really, really bright moments. There is a bit of raw talent there when it comes to the center forward position, which we only saw on 1 or 2 occasions at the very most. And that's just not enough to gauge him on. But if something happens to Aubameyang, we're going to be in a tough situation. What do you think, Tez? What do you make of this?
Sorry, Tez, just before you go quickly. I agree with everything you said, but with the way I think we're going to play next season, I don't think all the link up and the hold up play that we've seen because it doesn't suit any of our strikers apart from Lacazette. It's never suited Aubameyang. It doesn't suit Martinelli. So I think we're going to move away from that style of play. Obviously, I alluded to earlier with the wingers being a lot narrower so they can link in. And I see us more playing like with a fox in the box sort of player. And Aubameyang's the master of that. And that's more how Martinelli is. He's all energy and on your case, doesn't let you rest, presses from the front, or everything happens at 300 mile an hour. And I think that will suit him a lot more. So we'll see his performance up top, I think, will be better because the way we play suits him more, because he's never going to be the player you roll it into his feet and he holds off a 6'8" centre back and slips in a player or gives it and goes. So I think our style will change, because otherwise we definitely need to sign players, because our attacking system only suits Lacazette and literally none of the others.
My thoughts on this is, I look at Lacazette, I look at Aubameyang, and I have a look at other teams, right? And I look and think, Aubameyang and Lacazette, as whether you say partnership or 2 strikers, they are up there with 2 of the best strikers in, I will say, the Premier League. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not saying the best, but they're up there on the list, when you look at teams. So I think Arteta's got to find a solution to fit both of them in that team.
I disagree. I don't think they've ever played well together. People convince themselves they did because they had a cool handshake. But
yeah,
I don't think they ever played well together.
I just look, you've got 2. You're not going to get your money back for Lacazette, are you? Like, you're not going to get your 40 mil back, or what was it, 30, 40 he signed for?
Nearer 50. Well, look, he's only got a year left in his contract. We're not going to extend. Yeah, I think he's gone. I think forget the Lacazette experiment.
It's gone. That's gone. Yeah, maybe. Look, maybe.
He's 30 years old too, isn't he?
He is all very close to. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that experiment just didn't work, and especially with the other talent in the team, Pepe, Saka, Smith Rowe, possibly another
That bloke,
Odegaard.
that striker from Celtic, he's gone, hasn't he? He went somewhere.
It's not done, but he agreed to join Leicester ages ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not going to work. I mean, we got to get rid of Lacazette. I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, look, if we're going to get rid of him now, it's definitely the time. This window is definitely the time. Otherwise, you kind of got to let him go for free when he goes. And I think we've done that in the past and has backfired massively on us. So I think now's the time you just try to bite the bullet and get rid, move him on. But I don't know who's out there though. Who's that? Who wants to play alongside Aubameyang? Or not alongside him. Who wants to be fighting Aubameyang for that position? It's almost like the Harry Kane at Tottenham.
Is that your take then, Tez, that you'd like to sign someone to back up Aubameyang and be competition for Martinelli and Balogun?
Yeah, I think you have to. Or Balogun, he's one. You've got to, the kid signed on. So do you say, okay, well, the kid signed on, he could be Smith Rowe next season and come through and break through? I think you've probably got to give that do you give that a shot for 6 months? I don't know.
It's tricky, isn't it? I mean,
headache.
Yeah, because if you want to manage minutes, it makes sense. Assuming that Aubameyang is going to be fit for the majority of the season or a vast majority of the season, and you could apply the same situation to Kieran Tierney, because if both of them manage to stay fit, then they are by default on the team sheet. But if they're out, and they could be out, Tierney in particular, for a long spell of time, then what sort of a backup do you need? And which sort of a backup is going to sign for that position? Is it going to be a veteran who we may not be able to count upon? Or is it going to be someone who is not proven yet and you take a chance with them? And it becomes more complicated with the striker situation because we've got Martinelli and Balogun. It's very, very tricky. I have no idea how we're going to go about solving that one.
We'll sign a young left back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced of that. And we've been linked with a few, and I can't say I know loads about them because they're young, unproven left backs. There's a guy from Hibernian, Josh Doig, D-O-I-G. I think it's Doig, how you pronounce it. Apologies if not. We've been linked quite a bit with him, and there was someone else today. I can't remember who it was. I saw it, and it was like someone with decent pedigree, but not sort of broke out yet. But yeah, that's what I think we'll do. And then, as you said, we'll hope to get Tierney the majority of minutes, but someone with the chance to prove themselves if they are called upon. But yeah, I'm pretty confident we sign a young left back. And as I said, for the striker, I don't think we do anything.
Look, but this is my little bit of a problem, and I'll mention a guy's name who plays for PSV. Daniel Malen, he was an Arsenal, come through the Arsenal academy, and then we transferred him out 2 years ago, or Wenger did. He's a young player who has now got massive potential. And I was looking at him as he come through he's in the Netherlands team as well for the Euros. This kid, and this is what I worry about Balogun. He's a kid who, give him minutes and let him try, and you sign the fucking kid. So you give him an extension on a contract. So yeah, let him play. So I think Lacazette goes, Aubameyang's your bloke, Balogun's your bloke, Martinelli's your bloke, and that's it.
You think of teams not in Europe, and none of them have. Even their third choice striker is always young, and even their second choice. I'm trying to think say Everton, right? They've got Calvert-Lewin as N9, and if he gets injured, to be honest, Richarlison moves there, who starts anyway. They don't have a backup striker, and I say Everton because they're probably the second biggest club not in Europe. But even Tottenham to an extent, I know they are in Europe, but it's Harry Kane, and if Kane gets injured, Son goes down the middle. But he starts anyway, so. Even just having these backups that you're confident could play 3-4 games in a row is kind of a step ahead of the clubs we're sort of level with, rivals with in terms of league position at the moment. Is it the same as a City's a terrible example saying got any strikers. To be fair, no one's got any strikers at the moment. Liverpool, Firmino's out.
Chelsea with Werner and then Havertz plays there. But then
Yeah, and
Havertz
then
is on the field as
Giroud,
well.
Giroud, Abraham's going. No, Giroud's probably going to go. It's just the depth in strikers really, really low at the moment. Like, no one has a backup striker. I guess Iheanacho was, but then he started scoring, so now they start both of them. But no one's really got a backup striker who you go, we'll get you 10, 15 goals.
Sam just said Balogun needs a loan, and I totally disagree with that. I think you've got to start rewarding these kids. You know, he's signed an extended contract. I'm told he's good. I'm told he's going to be a Smith Rowe and a Saka, and this is what I'm told. So I'm sorry, but we ain't fucking world beaters. Like, Arsenal are a mid-table team the last few years. Why would I want to loan this kid out? I wouldn't loan him out to any other Premier League.
No, I think he stays and is the third man, personally, and maybe takes up all the minutes that Eddie got this year.
There's one that can go. We give him the chance, but Eddie can go. Sorry, he didn't cut the mustard. And if Balogun's the same, he doesn't cut the mustard this season, next season. Well, I guess he might come on and be an absolute fucking waste of space. But you never know if you don't give him a chance.
Yeah, I agree. As I said, I think he's your third man, and I think in terms of strikers, and left back, to be honest, I think both situations are pretty simple. Like, you can say they're a headache, but I think what we've outlined, or what I've outlined, is the way it will go. And as I said, I don't think there's much more that will convince me otherwise.
And the only reason, Schwinn, why I brought up that young bloke at the Netherlands, I'm sick of reading that they were an Arsenal Academy player, or they were, you know, with Arsenal, and then they fucking seem to go to a different team and be legends at massive fucking hits. And I'm like, at some point, we got to change our mentality, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just that for every shining example, there's maybe multiple ones that haven't worked out. True. You know?
There is, yeah.
I mean, there's also the kid at Milan, right, who is a former Arsenal Academy player. I'm forgetting his name. Ismail Benacer, is it?
Benacer, that's it. My mind went blank.
Yeah.
He's proven to be quite a player at Milan. So yeah, there is a few names out there, but at the same time, you know, consider Joe Willock's situation. I'm pretty sure all of us would drive him whichever club is willing to pay a decent fee for him, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm like that opinion, but others aren't. I was going to actually wonder about that, like, because I don't know, like, and there's other clubs out there that actually fans that rate Nelson as well, you know, and I do, but like, I just think they're wrong opportunity. I think they missed an opportunity.
I think with Willock, he's almost played himself into a move because his stock is so high at the moment.
It's crazy.
If he has suitors, then we can get a decent return on him. And it just so happens that we're in a market where any such infusion of cash is very welcome.
I completely agree with that. And just one other I'm going to bring up because you reminded me of it. Ains done an interview today basically saying it could be time to kiss goodbye to Arsenal if I'm not going to get the chances there. I think he looks pretty set he's going to go because he refuses to play right back and all the other things we spoke about a million times before. What's your fee for Ainsley now? Because it's not the same as it was previously. Or maybe it is.
Well, if you're talking 20 last season with Eddie, if that's what we're going off, Ainsley's got to be worth more than that. And that's pretty high.
I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. I think 20-ish sounds about all right. Look, he's a dynamic player, and he has shown that he can play in a few positions, and he can also play in a very attacking team like Arsenal and in a low block like West Brom, for example. But strikers get you gold, and there always is this unsaid premium with them. And Eddie's no longer worth 20.
He can't be worth 20. Eddie can't be worth 20.
Yeah, not after what we've seen this season. So if we get 20 for Ainsley, I think that's a very fair offer. And of course, it depends on.
It's a funny market, eh? Like, you're talking Ruben Neves 35, and then you're looking at Granite at 25, 25, and then we're talking Maitland-Niles and fucking Eddie at 20. Like,
that's why it's so hard to compare
It's
signings
hard.
because it all
Yeah.
depends on the buyer and the seller. I mean,
I
if it's
hate It's my biggest hate when people go, "Oh, Maguire went for 80, so Holding must be 75," and you're like, "That's not how football works." Or Pepe was 72,
Yeah.
so this. I hate it.
it's
But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
makes
fucking
no sense. So if you got a few suitors, you got a little bit of a bidding war, well, maybe you can stretch that to 25, 27. If it's a big name coming in, let's say a Man United, just to pull a name out, then you can stretch that even more. And I mean, I think reasonably 20 million, happy days.
I'm a big Ainsley fan, as many people will know, but I think his stock's fallen, and I'll be very surprised if we get 20 million for him, because he didn't look brilliant in centre mid, and whether he has an attitude problem or not, we don't really know. But he didn't want to play right back for us. He refused several loan moves because he didn't want to play right back, and ended up choosing the worst team, both in terms of ability and stylistically for himself, just so he could play in centre mid. So it makes it seem like his attitude is terrible. And look, as I said, I don't know if it is, but that's the impression from the outside, that he's going to come, he's not going to play in his favourite position, he's going to make demands like I'm only playing in centre mid. And then that limits who's interested and how much they're interested for. It was Wolves that were looking at the 20 to 25 last million, but they wanted him as a wing back because they sold Doherty to Tottenham. Southampton tried to sign him on loan in January. He refused because he didn't want to be a fullback or wing back.
I almost think Everton's the place for these younger players.
He's not getting centre mid at Everton.
I mean, he'll have to go to a relegation fighting Norwich, assuming.
100, and that's sort of where he's at, I think, which is a shame because I think his ceiling, especially if he played right back or right wing back, is a lot higher than that. But I think he's basically talked himself out of a lot of moves. Who else come up? Brentford, maybe, because he runs and they have a very strong running game. Who's the other team that come
Palace?
It was Watford was the other team. Palace, there's an interesting one because they've lost loads of players. It looks like Nuno's going to be their manager, who tried to sign him last year. But again, he tried to sign him to be a wing back. So does he see him in centre mid? Don't know.
Watford that we got a
team come up.
Money? Who's that player we got a shitload of last season off Everton?
Iwobi.
Iwobi, yeah. Iwobi. Because he had a pretty good season, didn't he? Everton, I reckon. No.
Dodged a bullet, got a really good deal.
We all knew that.
But yeah. I was just thinking as you were talking, I wonder if we could get 40 for these blokes. Like, I was shocked to see Iwobi go for that.
I mean, market's changed anyway, but that's going to bring costs down. But as I said, I think Ainsley has shot himself in the foot. Well, maybe not, because he might end up somewhere playing centre mid and he's happy with that. But in terms of what we'll get for him, I think that's massively reduced. And as Shwin said, you're looking at kind of relegation fodder. Palace is potential. Watford is potential. Brentford there's potential there. They go on Moneyball, which is interesting because I don't know what his midfield stats will be like in terms of a cost per million. I'd imagine they're not great, but I don't know. I can't pretend I've looked into the stats or particularly care about the stats. There's Brentford and Norwich maybe. They had Oliver Skip from Tottenham on loan last season, apparently done really well. I think Tottenham are going to integrate him back into their squad depending on who the manager is. So then there's a place, and they've obviously lost Buendia as well. So there's definitely spaces to fill in the Norwich midfield. So something like that isn't a horrendous shout. But as I said, you're not selling anyone to Norwich for 25-30 million.
Sam says, I'd absolutely be keeping Willock. We need goals from the midfield, and he's had a great loan. He has. There's lots of people, boys, that talk on Willock, and he's played himself into a fucking valuable young player.
Well, for me, there's a lot of what Sam said I agree with, apart from the bit that's saying he should stay at Arsenal, personally, because he's played himself into being a £30 million player. I've watched enough of Joe Willock to think, one, he'll never be a £30 million player again, and two, just the system that Arsenal will never suit him, because we're going to try and play football. And I think I've told this story before, so sorry if you've heard it, but I'm going to say that again. One of my customers is a Newcastle season ticket holder. And when they signed him, obviously on loan, he messaged me straight away and he's like, what do you know about Willock? What can you tell me style-wise and whatnot? And I said, if you ask him not to play too much football, if you get Shelvey doing his passing for him and you could just let him run and arrive in the box late, if you use St. Maximan and Almiron wide and get balls in the box, Willock will look fantastic. The moment you ask him to take a touch and play a ball and play neat football, you're going to be in trouble. And that's the problem with us, or what in terms of his problem is that we play too much football through the middle, and that really doesn't suit his skill set. And even the Newcastle fans, they'll say, oh, he's fantastic, he's got loads of goals, but even they can already see that he's not going to be in a pass and move kind of player. I kind of feel sorry for him because he has a strong skill set. It just really isn't suited to Arsenal, and that's unfortunate for him. And as I said, if you're going to get the 30, 35, which I truly believe you could get, I think that's as close to a no-brainer as you're going to get, personally. And I understand that people think differently, but I just think he'll never be worth this money again.
I agree. Sam says, I don't think we'd get 15 million for Ainsley.
I think about that price. I think between 15 and 20, but you're really stretching for 20. You'd have to be really lucky, I think.
I'm just going through the comments. Rick said, good morning, lads. He said, if we get top dollar for Willock, that's awesome. It's not he'll be a great bench player. Win-win. Yeah, true. Yeah.
The issue of him being a bench player is that you lose all the value, basically.
Yeah, he will drop down. And Roberto says 20 million for Maitland Niles. And what's that emoji? I can't see it. I think it's the shock emoji.
Laughing
or something. Yeah, it's fucking hard to see that on the computer. Okay, that's us. I think that's, we've spoken an hour and 7 minutes on fucking transfer news. Can we get into some Euros stuff now?
Yeah, so I don't know if you told people already, but obviously last week you heard their ridiculous Premier League predictions and my fantastic ones. We're going to run the same for the Euros. So obviously the Euro starts on Friday. It's now, Wednesday? Nearly 20 minutes till it's Wednesday. So 2 days before the tournament kicks off, and we're going to do our Euros predictions. And obviously anyone in the comments, feel free to put yours so we can call you stupid in 4 weeks when you're as wrong as we are.
Schwinn, are you going to hang around for this or are you going to head off?
I'm going to head off. It's quite late here in the morning. 4 a.m. in the morning.
He's been on this podcast 6 years and he still sits on the fence.
I'll send in my predictions and let you guys share them, and we'll have fun with it at the end of the tournament. But yeah, I got to go to bed at this point. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah, buddy. Have a good one. Cheers, mate.
All right. Take care, boys. Enjoy it.
Jack, I thought Jack or Addy were going to pop in, but they haven't. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to start at the top. We're going to go through a few teams because I've also, those who aren't on Facebook, this is going over to a punting page I run, Punting Pirates. And they are all very keen to hear our tips and predictions, Tony, because they are mad gamblers and they want a little couple of bets in the Euros. So.
They want to bet on the exact opposite of what we choose.
However, they know fuck all about football, so they are, using our knowledge. Italy is the first one in Group A. I'm going to go through the groups. Just going to touch quickly on a few teams. I don't want to be dragging this on too long. Italy in Group A, the FIFA rank, they're seventh. I'm actually barracking for Italy this. I did in the World Cup as well. My only problem here, Tony, is they do lack strikers, which is a little bit of a worry for me. Belotti up front. I know you've got a Mobley there. Who else is there? I'm trying to think now. So that's my only worry is they do lack striking power up front. How do you think Italy's going to go?
Do you know what? It's a weird one because you said Italy, and I thought they're looking quite good. They're playing well. They always have some players that are playing unbelievable in Serie A, but they're probably not getting the exposure, especially if they're not in a Champions League team. So we don't see them in European competition. So I thought, Italy, they could go well. I mean, I don't think they're going to threaten the winners, but they could go well. And then I looked at their group, and don't get me wrong, they're favourites to win it. but it
Mm.
ain't an easy group. Switzerland are never easy to beat for anyone. I think it was in the
Yep.
last World Cup where they drew with Brazil, who were kind of strongly fancied at the start, or maybe the World
Mhm.
Cup before. I think it was the last one. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they
the
do.
last one.
They shock you a bit, Switzerland. They do. They do.
They
shock you a
always
little bit.
do it. They're
Yeah.
just hard to beat. And then Turkey, I'm not going to pretend I know the most, but their players are kind of high stock right now, some of them, and they battered Holland recently in a quite meaningful game in terms of, I can't remember if it was a qualifier or not, but I know even if it was a friendly, it was one that both teams took seriously. And then Wales are.
Wales.
Look,
Yeah.
let's not pretend they're the best team in the world, but they're going to defend well. They're usually quite organised, and they got players like Bale and Ramsey on the counter, and they have. Look, everyone knows I hate passion in football because I kind of think it's a made-up theory, but they have that togetherness and that group. Like, I mean, look, they got to the semis of the last Euros, and look, that was a one-off freak tournament. They won't do it again, but no one's going to go and beat them 5-0. I don't think. Famous last words. So why I expect Italy to win that? It's an interesting group. It's not a Italy win, don't look at it sort of thing. Like, some groups you go,
I
oh, well,
agree
that's
with
going to
you.
happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a tough group, and my only thing is in that group, and you're rattling off teams, and Switzerland. You've got blokes like Shaqiri who have sat on the bench. At Liverpool. Grenet's a regular first timer. I'm trying to think if there's other ones. Ricardo Rodriguez. He was at Milan or
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's still there, but
But they're bench players. That's my worry.
I don't think it matters. I think they're just one of them teams. I mean, Jan Sommer will play in goal. He starts regularly for his club. I just think they're one of them teams that, again, it's a sum of the parts. It's not the individual players. No one's ever looked at a Switzerland player and gone, "Wow, I must go and get him and spend 80 million." They're just a team that are a team. They're not. The individuals don't really matter. And they do well at all levels. Their under 21 teams ain't bad. And I watched their under 21s, and I'd heard of one player, and he was someone that had played 10 minutes for Brighton, sort of thing. Like, he gets 10 minutes at the end of the game for Brighton, and he was in their under 21 teams that qualified for the under 21 Euros. So Switzerland are just that nation that they build in a certain way where the players don't matter too much. But I mean, Shaqiri has always been their sort of superstar, and Xhaka.
He has,
and they're not, but they're not superstars. They've played for their clubs, and if they've been to a big club, like Shaqiri went to Bayern and went to Liverpool, and he's not even been a starter at either of them. And then he went to Stoke and looked okay, a bit about good maybe. So he's not a superstar, but for them, he looks it, and I think they're just a system team. Not just, that's disrespectful. I mean, I think they're a system team, which is why they cause people problems. I don't think the players matter.
Look, and I did mention Italy are ranked 7th. Switzerland are ranked 13th in the world. So,
I couldn't care less about the UEFA rankings.
No, I think they're a bit of a joke as well when I look at it. I think, Turkey, one player we've all kind of seen this season, I've watched him previously, is Under, however you want to pronounce it. Other than that, I know a hell of a lot about Turkey. Maybe their goalkeeper.
Oh, they've got Kabak, who was on loan at Liverpool. They've got I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The Juve centre back, Demiral, is it? Demiral.
It was more the pronunciations I didn't want to come up with. I'm like,
there's Calhanoglu, who's obviously at AC Milan, had a good season. Been linked with everyone because his contract's up, but I think he's going to sign a new one. Yilmaz, who has always just scored goals.
Oh yeah, Yilmaz, yeah.
They've got some players. They're not a bad team. As I said, I'm not saying I expect them to well, but I think that Italy group's not a nice one, to be honest.
Wales will depend on Ramsey a lot. Gareth Bale also.
Yeah, Ramsey.
Yep. Other than that, do you see two have got to come out of this group? So Italy, and who else do you see?
I think Italy and Switzerland, but to be honest, there's no, because the third might get through as well. I wouldn't. None of these would be a surprise if they get through. Like, we're going to look at some other groups later where I'm going to say I would be shocked if X gets through. With this group, there's not a single team where I'd go, fuck me, I didn't expect that if they get through.
Yeah. As a betting man for you punters, I'm happy to stay away from Group A. Because like Group A is just as you said, Tony, it's going to be a very unpredictable group. Okay,
Yeah,
moving to
it's probably
Group.
one of the tougher ones.
It is actually Group B. Belgium. What a fucking great team.
Yeah, for me, they're the second best team in the competition. And this is their last chance as well. I think you look at players like De Bruyne, who maybe missed the first game or two, but you look at De Bruyne, you look at Hazard, you look at Carrasco, and a lot of Mertens, and a lot of their players, and this is probably their last chance to win a tournament. You got other players who are a bit younger, Lukaku, but I'm even looking at defence, Vertonghen and Alderweireld. You could argue they're already finished, but if not, this is their last chance. So I think all of their eggs are in this basket, and for me, they're the second best team in the competition.
Tillmans.
Tielemans, yeah. I mean, he's got more tournaments in him, but I think as a group that this is the strongest I think we'll ever see Belgium, or we'll see them for the next while.
How old's that Witsel? Witsel.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he's that old, but obviously he fucked off to China and then came back. I don't think he's that old. Like as in mid to late 20s, I think, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, Ben he got a call up too. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean he ended the season well, but I mean Lukaku will start. That's why he's in the squad as well. But yeah, for me, this group is, without spending too much time on it, I think Belgium win it pretty comfortably. The others are interesting. Denmark are not a bad team. They're always useful. Finland, I think, are the whipping boys of the group. Russia's an interesting one because they're either very good, like they was in Russia.
They did really well, yeah.
But then the tournament before that, they were absolute shite. So you never know. Did they just get a huge buzz because they was in Russia? I think probably. So I'm going for a Belgium, Denmark top two. I wouldn't be amazed if it was Russia, but I think I'm just going to go on probability that their only really good tournament recently has been in their host nation, and I'm just going to go with that. So, yeah, I think Belgium and Denmark, and then, as I said, Russia wouldn't be the biggest shock.
Yep. Okay, Finland, you're giving them nothing really. They won't upset anybody in this group, you don't think?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. Let's move on to Group C. We've got Austria, we've got Netherlands, and we've got North Macedonia. Fuck, I forgot about them. And Ukraine in Group C.
Yeah, it's funny. Sam Nickel in the comments has just said, who's the best team on paper for individuals, but doesn't translate to collective performance. And this, I don't know if people sort of rate them for individuals, but Holland are that team you look at and you think they should do well, and they just kind of don't. Their friendly results haven't been good, or their warm-up games for the tournament. As I said, they got dicked by Turkey recently. I would still expect them to win this group, but they are that team that you look at and you think, well, they should win the group, but then they often disappoint.
They should have won the last World Cup, or the one before it?
Not the way they lost in the final.
Yeah. No, what did they do last World Cup?
They lost to Russia. No, I don't know how they didn't
make it. They didn't make it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's right. The one beforehand, and then to come back, and didn't even make the fucking World Cup. And now look, this is pretty much similar team, I think. Just having a look.
Well, I don't know. They injected a load of new players. Frankie De Jong, the centre back. Obviously, Donny van der Beek, but he's injured. He's out of the tournament. Depay, I know he was around then, but he's become more into it. Marlon, as you spoke about. But me, I'm just trying not to spend too much time on every group. I think Holland should win it. I mean, if I was I am a betting man, I would leave it alone. But I think Holland should win it. It's difficult. Austria always disappoint. Like, I remember the last Euros, they were everyone's dark horses because they're quite a nice group and they had a lot of good players. They had Alaba, Arnautovic, like a few other good players. And they just always disappoint. So I'm kind of hesitant to say anything about them. Ukraine, I can't see doing much, even though, again, they've got some good players. And North Macedonia, I've got to be honest, I don't know too much about them.
I know nothing about them, really. I'm just looking at their team as you're talking, and I can't. I
think Alioski. I think Alioski plays for them. Leeds left back. Well, he's not left back. He plays left back for Leeds.
Alioski. Yep. That's about the only one. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, but yeah, as I said, I think if we're just going quickly on it, I think Holland and then probably should be Austria, but they always disappoint. And
Ukraine.
Again, they don't tend to do too well, but they've got some good players. So
Okay. Where are we? Next group. Group
D.
D. We've got Croatia. We've got Czech Republic, England, and Scotland.
It's coming home, obviously. This is, again, on paper, England should win this. I don't know if it's even a good idea to win this group. Like in the World Cup, we came second, and it led to a much easier draw. So what's difficult is you would say on paper it'll be England and Croatia that go through. And what the joy with the World Cup was, we had Belgium last, and both teams were already through. So then I'm not saying we lost on purpose, but we did make a lot of changes. And because you could plan your route, you could go, if we lose, we come second, you can plan your route. Where we've got Croatia first game, it makes it difficult because if you think, oh, we'll lose to these and win the other two and come second. But then if you've lost to Croatia, there's a fuckload of pressure on the other two games, especially when one of them's Scotland, who it's as much of a derby as you'll get in international football, probably apart from Brazil and Argentina or the war-torn countries. Like us and Scotland fucking hate each other. Like there's not, I don't think there's many games where you get what you'd call a derby in international football, and that is one of them. So I think it's a tricky group to navigate for England. They should get through, and it should look on paper. It's very easy to say it should be England and Croatia, and it's, as I said, the order's difficult because I think second place is going to end up having an advantage. I really wouldn't be surprised if Croatia's like that's England's first game is a draw.
I'm just gonna look. I'm just outsider looking in here. I think you guys, and I hate to say this, right? I listen to you and Addy, and I use a talking about England. I can't see where you fault that England team on paper. For me,
really?
I think I really can't see it, right? And Sam mentioned on paper for individuals, but doesn't translate to collective performances. On paper, I look at England, and I think to myself, maybe because I look and watch a lot of Premier League, maybe that's the reason, right? How you blokes don't win this tournament, like the pressure for you blokes has got to be well and truly up there to at least make a final.
I completely disagree.
If you don't make a final, you have undersold yourselves.
I don't think so, especially with the potential draw. I mean, I think there's a very clear favourites, and we've not come on to them yet.
There's definitely a clear favourite, but like
yeah, but I mean, look, also our defence is absolute shite. Like Stones has had a good 6 months, but you can't really trust him. He's had a leader next to him, which he's not going to have. Maguire's not rattle
off. Foden, Jack Grealish.
Yeah, look, attacking. Well, no, but then attacking wise, we're brilliant individually, but there's also not a right winger in the squad. The only player in the squad who's played right wing this season is Saka, and Saka's not going to start. So it's imbalanced. We have an issue where he can't play on the right. He has a massive problems at Man United with it. We've also got a problem with Kane wants to come short, which means you've got to play two quick wide players, which is Sterling and Rashford probably, because they run in behind. And them two don't deserve to play. Rashford is going to start because he gave kids free meals. He shouldn't be playing for this England team. I'm not. That's why he's loved at the moment. He shouldn't be starting. It's not. I don't even think that's controversial. Sancho's tricky on the ball, but he doesn't run in behind, and he's playing much better on the left.
I think
they all play much better on the left.
I really do.
Huh?
I think you're looking at this too much.
No, but I don't know how we set up that suits our players, which is not looking into it too much. It doesn't suit our players. I think we probably have more joy if we go over back five, but he's not done that in such a long time that I can't see us doing it. If he does it on the first game of the tournament and we lose, people are going to go, oh, he's tried to be too clever. But I think that probably suits us more because we are shocking defensively. Mings is an absolute joke. If he was right-footed, he wouldn't be in the Premier League. I don't even think he'd be in the Championship. Cody's he's not a footballer. I don't know what he is. He shouts very loudly. As I said, Stones you can't trust unless he's got someone next to him telling him what to do. And there are centre-backs. For me, probably, look, as I said, I'm not including Maguire because he's injured. For me, the best, not the best, but then you got Ben White, who probably should be starting, but he wasn't even in the original 26. He only got called up the other day, so he doesn't get in. I think we're a shambles defensively. I think Southgate is a naturally negative manager, and I think our attacking players
that's the weakness. Yeah, I was going to say Southgate's your weakness, and if Southgate tries to do what he's done previously and set you guys up defensively, that's your weakness, because you're dead right. Look, defensively, you aren't, they're great, but then, people argue John Stones, Harry Maguire, well, they're
Maguire's not
Kyle
fit.
Walker. No, Maguire's not fit, okay. Walker, he's pace and whatnot. But, I do get what you're saying, okay. Defensively, you could be better. But then you look at your midfield and your forwards in your attack.
Well, no, look, again, the midfield's not brilliant, and in the defensive sense, and then the attacking midfielders, there's loads of them that are all individually good players.
Yeah.
But I don't know where they all.
Mm.
I mean, you can't play them all anyway. And then you also, as I said, I don't know where they fit. It's a massively imbalanced squad, and England's best chance is if Harry Kane plays as an out-and-out striker. And I know people are going to go, oh, well, that kills his ability as he's shown this season because he led the assists and the goals. But if he stays as a striker, then you can play Grealish, Foden, Mount, all of them guys behind him, because you don't need anyone to run in behind. If he drops deep, which is what he's done this season, then you can't play Grealish, Foden, Mount, Sancho even, because then it's so easy to defend against. All of our players are deep, and you need players that are going to run in behind, which is Rashford and Sterling, the only two that can do it. And don't get me wrong, they're not good players, but I mean, they are good players. They're not bad players. But on form, they shouldn't be anywhere near starting.
I'm just going to move on with Sam. He has mentioned Scotland. He thinks they have a bit of a chance of getting through. If we win, so he's English, the group, don't England... No, is he Scottish, is he? If we win the group,
no,
don't England...
it's the same thing. But
okay,
I think...
don't England play France or Portugal?
I know it's France or someone. I thought it was France or Germany, which is what I was saying is the problem winning the group. If it comes down to the last game and England are joint top with whoever they're playing, then I wouldn't be surprised to see wholesale changes and try and come second. In terms of Scotland, they actually have got quite a good squad at the moment. I think if this is one of the groups that gets the third place, I think the group will be England and Croatia in whatever order, 1 and 2, Scotland 3, and then it depends if 3 is gets you through or not in this group.
Yeah, what else you got in that group?
Czech Republic.
Croatia. Czech Republic. Riding them off, not even close.
No, not writing them off, but I just don't think they're as good. Look, I mean, you look at players like Souček and Soufal, they've got some good players. I'm not saying they're shit, but I don't think they're, as a whole team, they're up to the level. I mean, as I said, you look at, I know it's a basic way of thinking of things, but if you go at their best players, you look at Soufal and Souček, you look at the other teams, you got Tierney, Robertson, England, you've got a million players you can name who are better in the same Croatia. So I know, look, that's a very simple way of looking at things, but that's how I see the group. Said I'm not sure between England and Croatia. I think Scotland 3, Czech Republic 4.
Those having a bet, I'll be honest, I'm staying well out of that group. I think there'd be a couple of games when England play Scotland. That I don't know. Didn't they beat you not long ago?
No,
I thought they beat you in a friendly. Group E: Poland, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden. Holy fuck! Wow. Okay.
Spain should win it. They should. And then the question is, can Lewandowski can do enough to get Poland through? In the last, was it the World Cup? He was pretty poor and he only got 1 goal, and that was in the game they ended up going out in. I think that's the key question. I think for this, Spain win it. Poland depends completely on Lewandowski. Slovakia, Slovakia and Sweden both decent teams. Obviously, there's no Ibrahimovic.
I don't mind Sweden.
Yeah, there's no Ibrahimovic. There's always a couple of old players that they kind of rely to not be on their last legs and try and get them through. I mean, we've seen Sebastian Larsson playing for them for what seems like 300 years. Yeah. As I said, I wouldn't put money on it, but my bet would be Spain, Poland, 1 and 2 in that order.
Yeah, I think Spain. Spain. Who manages? Oh, bloody Luis Enrique.
Yeah, well, they've not picked any Real Madrid players.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at their team. It's not a bad team. Bit old, aging squad.
No, they could have had the shame with Spain is they could have had better players out there.
Yeah.
Asensio, Nacho, Carvajal. There was some of Vasquez, Ramos not being in the squad. I'm not saying all of them, but none of them being in the squad is absolutely criminal.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. Okay, so you're picking Spain on that one. Group F. Well, I'm just going to talk. France, Germany, Hungary, Portugal. Fuck me. Okay.
So this is the absolute group of death. There's no way to sugarcoat it. France are the best team in the tournament by an absolute mile. I can't believe the bookies have it even close. I think last time I checked, it was about a week ago, France were just about favourites from England who were on their coattails, maybe even the same odds. That's fucking lunacy. If France, like you saying, if England don't get to the final, they've had a disappointment. I don't agree with you. If France don't win it, they've fucked up. Their team is an absolute.
It's a crazy team. It really is. I agree.
Yeah. And then it'd be interesting for second place in this group because I mean, obviously Portugal are the reigning champions, but they struggled in their group last time. I think they got 3 draws and came through third, and then ended up winning it. And one of them was Hungary. So everyone is going to write Hungary off, and I'm going to do it. But when they were European champions, Hungary made Portugal work. Germany, it's just Germany. Like, doesn't matter if they got the best players in the world or the worst players in the world. They just come good in tournaments always. I think they've had one bad tournament in 20 years. I think this group's really hard to call. The only bet I would do on this would be Hungary to come fourth, and you wouldn't get good odds on it.
I'm going to go Germany, France. I think
in that order.
Germany, France. No, not that order. No, it'd be France, Germany, I should say. Portugal, obviously. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Portugal have got a good team too. I just go looking at that, Bernardo Silva, Ronaldo, he's there. That Felix, he didn't have a great season at Atletico Madrid.
Do you know what? I was with my mates earlier and we was talking about this group. We didn't have like any stats or anything up. We was just sitting in the park talking. And the problem with Portugal is they've got a lot of good players, but they're not the players you think they are. So like people look at Bruno Fernandes and say he got whatever it was, 28 goal contributions last year. But when you're with Cristiano Ronaldo, the Bruno Fernandes that plays for Man United is not the same guy that plays for Portugal. Like it's a different player. I think he's only got like 1 or 2 goals for Portugal. And as I said, like everyone knows Bruno loves a penalty. He ain't getting anywhere near them. Felix, as you said, had the best season. Jota's a very good player, but he'll have to play different with Ronaldo. Bernardo Silva for me is fucking tremendous. He's not had the best of years though. At the back, they've obviously got Ruben Diaz. I'm not sure who partners him. Rafa Guerreiro is a very good left back. They've got some very good players, but as I said, the team is not necessarily players. I think they're a bit weak in the centre mid. I think they have been for a long time. But with Portugal, you've just got to go. It comes down to what Cristiano Ronaldo can do. And it's been that way for a long time. If the best of the best Ronaldo turns up, you'd be a fool to bet against them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Tough group. Very tough group. I'm just going to read a couple of the comments the boys are going through, talking. Archie says, talking about that other group, England can make the semis as long as Grealish plays.
If we get France in the last 16, we lose. There's no.
Oh yeah, France is tough. You boys, yeah, I agree.
So that's where I'm saying where you said, we should get to the final. Yeah. Our group, we could be. It's France, Germany, or Portugal, almost certain, or is likely.
Yeah,
is our next round, and I wouldn't back us against any of them. Maybe Portugal.
No. Fucking tough. I don't. Sam says I don't think Scotland will top the group, but they could finish second or third and get through.
I agree with that.
Archie says Sam, Poland, Sweden, Portugal, Germany could be third. Sam, Portugal, France, Germany in that group.
Yeah, no, because he said, we could get France or Germany, and I said I thought it's France and he said France, Portugal, and I said France or Germany. We're saying the same things.
Yeah, okay. Archie's going Sweden to go through as well in that group.
Yeah, that's a tough one. As I said, I think Spain top it, and then any of the other three could get through. And as I said, I think it depends on Lewandowski, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of them got through, to be honest.
Rick, Germans with the group and the Euros double. Wow, big call, Rick. Big call.
I'll claim there'd be very good odds on that, I'd imagine.
Sam, he's saying Portugal have Diaz, Silva, Felix, all the players we did list. We were talking about it, but he thinks they'll be second, Portugal. Yeah.
It's interesting. So you've got Rick, who thinks that Germany win the group, and by the looks of things, unless Sam's writing France off, he doesn't. He thinks Germany could go out if the third place doesn't get it. So this group is a fucking bastard to call.
It's fucking, yeah, absolutely. Okay, now we did some stuff earlier, and I'm just gonna some little bloody things. So I'm just gotta get this up and write it down, yeah. Because we want to do our predictions, and I need to record them. I need to write this shit down, right?
Well, you could do what you done last time. We know it's at the end of this show, so you could just come back and listen to it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that saves me fucking doing that. Because I was asking for Jack. Still waiting for our 3-2-1 on the Arsenal stuff, Jack. Shout out, buddy. Okay, winner. Who wins it for you?
France.
Okay, I'm going to go... Fuck.
Sometimes
it should be France. Germany's got me fucked. Portugal's got me fucked. Belgium aren't a dark horse.
Remember, you're going to have to listen back to this to find out the answers. So
yeah, I'm going to go Belgium.
Okay. Cool.
Only reason is because I think they're going to have an easier track through. That Germany, Portugal, England, France are going to have a very tough path through. So I'm going Belgium with an easier path through. Runner up.
I don't know the draws, to be honest. Which obviously I could say a team that would be impossible to play France in the final. Looking at it,
we're going to have to do what I did.
Possible,
you're going to have to think about who's going to go
Belgium.
Next.
If possible, Belgium, but I don't know if that's possible.
Yep. Yeah, I see what you're saying on the other side. So I originally thought England, but now I didn't realise that you will come up against tough competition. So I'm actually going to go... I'm going to go France because they should be there. They should be there. Whoever comes out of that group should be there.
Yeah, we've gone the same, but the other way round. But it might be impossible.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If that does get there, Belgium, France, I'm possibly putting my money on France, even though I've said Belgium. Because look, on paper they should beat Belgium, but yeah, I was more thinking on.
Well, it was close. That was a World Cup semi, and it was only 1-0. So.
Yeah, true. Okay, player of the tournament.
Going with my thinking that France are going to win it, I'm going to go very boring and go Mbappe.
I was thinking exactly the same, but I don't want to say the same. Look, I think it has. I think he's going to be the player of the tournament. It really has to be Mbappe for me as well. Just trying to think who else could. Belgium. If they go through, just trying to think. Well, it won't be. I don't think it'll be a standout performance in the Belgium team. So I'm gonna go Mbappe as well. What was the other things that we had? I'm just looking back through. Golden boot. Who's your golden boot?
If he's going to win the player of the tournament and the competition, probably going to. Actually, tough one because I don't know if he's going to play. Benzema.
Oh.
Actually, Let me look
What
at
you
the group.
thinking behind that? Benzema
Well, it's quite common that the top scorer comes from
from
the
a
team that
lower
wins it.
group. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. So I'm changing that answer. Not Benzema. Cancel Benzema. Lukaku.
Mhm. Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's who I was going, Lukaku, because I think it's got to be from a team who puts on a lot of goals and has got an easier path to
Yeah, it's
get
the
there.
group. That's what stops
Yeah.
me going Benzema is the group. Whereas Belgium, they should win all three
They
really.
should win.
But then
They
it
should
comes with
win
if they
well.
spank the first two, they might rest him. But whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that is a. Yeah. I think that's a safe bet, Lukaku. That's who I was going. You're going safe. Archie's gone Kane to score all penalties and win the Golden Boot.
I mean, he done it. Is what he done in the World Cup. He actually didn't have a good tournament, but he won the Golden Boot. My issue is I think England will probably go out in the last 16, and I think it'd be very unlikely for a player to go out in the last 16 and win the Golden Boot. But I did consider him. You have to.
Yeah. Archie's also saying Griezmann will shine.
I feel like I pick him every year because I like him, but he just lets me down. But we'll come on to that because I don't think he's choosing him as the top goal scorer, and we're going to do player of the tournament as well. So.
We did player of the tournament.
Yeah, that's what his answer to. Sorry, that's not.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Underperformer. Is it underperforming team or player?
Yeah, nation, but also qualify it because I remember before you tried saying like, "Oh, Hungary underperformed because they went out in their group," even though it's exactly what everyone expected. So,
you got a good memory.
My answer, well, it was actually Schwinn's idea to give him some credit. My answer is England because I think a lot of English people probably don't expect us to get too far, but a lot of foreign people like you think, "Oh, England should be getting to the final." So I think England probably get last 16, and for most that'll be seen as an underperformance. So I'm going to go England. Although
England is mine.
You just said that. Okay. I mean, the one issue with me saying this is it's obviously coming home, but they're my underperformers.
Look, I'm just going to shout out England. Okay, before I flirt this, but I will mention another team only because I don't want to be like, oh, here you, mate. I'll be honest. I looked at this England team, and most Aussie blokes who are in the Facebook groups that I talk to, and most people have said this England fucking team should be up there in, a semi-final spot, if not going to the final. So our expectations for the England team are obviously a lot higher than you fellas. I get that now because you guys, you made a good point, and the boys on the chat. You come up against a France, Germany, or Portugal.
Well, just to tell you England's draw. If we come second, we play the winner of Italy's group. As an Englishman, I wouldn't mind that. That's not a bad draw. If we come third, we play the winner of Holland's group. Again, I wouldn't mind that. That's a good draw. If we win it, we play second in France, Germany, Portugal. That's a shitbag of a draw. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's difficult that we've got Croatia first.
Yep.
If we had Croatia last game, and you're both on 6 points, you throw that game, and then your draw's fucking incredible. This is where I sit with England. If we win the group, we're in trouble.
I agree. I am going to throw in the Netherlands though, or Holland, in this category because like we're talking a team who the previous World Cup made it to a final, didn't qualify for the World Cup. So I think that the expectations on that country is to make it out of the group stage and win the group stage, win that group and win it comfortably. They're coming up against Austria and I think it's Ukraine. Yeah, Ukraine. I think if they don't make it out of that group, they've underperformed.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. If they don't, I think they will. If they don't, it's an underperformance. Yeah.
No, if they make it out of that group and make a semi, I think they've well and truly overperformed.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what their draw is, but yeah, if they don't make it out of the group, they've underperformed. I think most people agree with that.
Okay, dark horse. Who's your dark horse?
Am I allowed to have Italy?
Don't stop. I'm going first. Italy's my dark horse. I think they can upset. I thought you would have went Spain.
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is with Spain, you look at their group and go, "Are they going to win that?" And I don't particularly know the draw. I don't know if Italy are a dark horse. Some people will say, "Fuck off, bollocks." They're expected to get to the semis. That's why I said, "Am I allowed to have them?"
Well, they didn't qualify for the last World Cup either.
No, but they did to the Euro, so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, usually you kind of look for a middle team. Like Austria have always been the dark horse. A Switzerland sort of things, but I'm not that big on the middle teams. I think there's quite a big gap, as in the top teams. No, I think they'll disappoint. They were actually one of my considerations for underperformers because people will go, "Oh, they got to the World Cup final, so now they should be at least semi-finals." And I'm not sure that's the case. My underperformers are coming from Group D, basically.
Yep. Poland. That's another one that could be dark.
You could fall on your ass. It all depends on if Lewandowski turns up.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say they're your underperformer, and he goes and scores 6 goals and fucking wins a Golden Boot, and they get to quarterfinals, sort of thing. It's
dark horse is, you could almost throw Germany in, couldn't you? Dark horse.
I don't think you can
because it's a tough group.
Yeah, but I think it's Germany.
It is. Yeah. Look, I'm going Italy but I think they've got the easier group. They should win that group. They've got almost the Belgium path. However, I haven't looked totally. Belgium and Italy could come up against each other, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, Italy have got the second in England's group, which I think if it's England, I think we probably beat them, and maybe that's me being patriotic or whatnot. I think if it's Croatia, Czech Republic, or Scotland, then Italy beat them. So Italy's draw kind of depends on other people, I think.
Yeah. We can I'm throwing them in as a dark horse anyway. So, I'm just going to go through. Sam says he thinks the Netherlands. I think will be disappointed.
He said that before you said it, to be fair.
Oh, did he? Okay. Archie said Turkey be exciting to watch. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just difficult with underperformers because they could be exciting and go out in the group, and you're like, and they played well, but they didn't go for it. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them arguments.
Yeah. Sam's he's calling it. Scotland will get through in third and beat Holland second round. Quarterfinals will be massive for them. This is where I think if Netherlands get to that point and get beaten by Scotland, they've then underperformed, haven't they?
Yeah, but it's a weird one because if they get that far and then get beat by England, have they underperformed even though they've got to the same stage? You know what I mean? But bold claim.
Who's a better team on paper? Who's a better team, England or Netherlands?
I think at the moment you've got to say England. I mean, you list off the list of England players, and then you said it's a joke. I don't think they fit as a team, but that's me looking deeper into it. You look at the players and fucking Grealish, Foden, Sancho. You know what I mean? Kane. You think, fuck me.
I know. That's right. That's why everybody's going. England should. That team, fuck. That team's crazy.
I think it's like I'm trying to think of teams where we've seen it before, where they've got a load of good players, but they just don't fit together at all. Like a lot of the Galactico Real Madrids were like that time. They kept buying the best players. Like they brought James because he was the best player in the World Cup. There was a few years where they brought Kaká and a few other players year on year, and it was but then they forgot that you also need to defend. And it didn't the Galacticos is sort of seen as not really working. I know they've won stuff. It's Real Madrid. They fucking win all the time, but for the money they spent, that's why, because they had the players but not the team, and I think England are going to be a lot like
that. Okay, well that's about all the categories I think we've got. I'm just trying to have a quick look. Former Golden Boot, player of the tournament, runner-up, winner, dark horse. That's about it, buddy.
Cool. We nearly dragged 2 hours out of it.
We have. I just very fucking quickly, and I'm not going to go into detail on categories, but I will listen back. Copa America is also a tournament running in conjunction with the Euros. Who's your winner there? And winner, runner up, and that's all I want there.
I'm gonna sit on the fence because I don't even know if the players are gonna play. So there's talks about, because there's so much COVID in Brazil, loads of players don't want to play in it, and I think the decision is due tonight. Obviously, it's midnight here, so within the next 5 or 6 hours. But I think a few teams are threatening to pull out. I don't know if they're actually gonna. Because, you know what I mean? I could say Brazil and it ends up that they're playing the under-21s because all the top players are refused to play. The easy answer in that, without looking at Brazil or Argentina, but it's so unknown.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, righto. Well, I will leave it then because I wasn't aware of that. I did know there was talk about it, but I didn't know it went on to.
Well, it's just not decided yet. As I said, there has only been talk about it, but it's hard to say anything. I was just going to say I will tweet out the predictions. I'll do it tomorrow, and then everyone can just reply underneath it as well. So that way we've got a record, and if anyone else wants to add theirs, we'll all have a record all in one place, so we can all call each other stupid.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, do that. That's a good idea. Okay, thanks, buddy. We will be back next week. I might pop in throughout the tournament on Twitter with spaces or something, do a little live space. So if those want to tune in, but yeah, we'll be back next week. By that stage, the tournament would have kicked off, and we'll have a couple of games to talk about, mate.
Well, we'd have had England-Croatia by then, and I'm not sure who France's first game is. In that group, we're going to have two. By that time, we'll have had either France-Germany, France-Portugal, or Portugal-Germany. So there'll be some big games.
Have a look too, guys, and I guess you all have, but check out the tournament's actually going to be played over like 11 countries. I think we're going to see some massive time shifts, especially for you blokes in Australia. I don't even know what time we're rolling here yet, because but check your guides where you are, because it's crazy. The fucking, usually, like with the World Cup, you could type set yourself, okay, it was midnight, 2 a.m, 5 a.m. for us over here, but it's going to be all over the shop with it.
No, the times are pretty consistent. They're shit for you though, but they're not. It's not moved around too much.
Okay.
So the games tend to be 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock UK time. Obviously, we start recording. So early morning for you is 10:30 UK time. That's when we start recording. So the games are throughout the night for you, but the times don't change. So if you're one of them people that wants to actively watch it and you don't have work and stuff, you would have to change it to be awake during the night and asleep during the day. But it's not going to be one game's at one time and then the next day it completely changes. They're pretty consistent. Also, just to say, if we come back next Tuesday, we'll be half an hour later than we were this week, because France Germany will be like 15 minutes left at the time we started today, and I'm not cutting short in that game.
No, I want to watch that game too. Yeah, so
yeah, I just straight after.
Yeah, we will. We'll come back straight after France Germany. Yeah, I just had a look for Australia. It's actually not too bad. And Optus Sports you can catch up as well. It's 2 a.m., 5 a.m., and 2300. So, it's not okay. It's throughout the night, but you're always going to get a 5 o'clock game every morning live for those who do get up early. So it's not too bad actually. So yeah. France, Germany, 5 a.m. I thought it was going to be like with all the countries in a massive time difference. Like,
no, Europe,
not a schedule.
We don't have. Europe doesn't have a big time difference between money. So say like Spain is an hour. I think Portugal's an hour, or maybe even the same as the UK.
Yep. Yeah, I've lost you. No, lost you, buddy. Yeah, no, that's all right. So that's good. So, okay, guys, we're out. We'll see you next Tuesday night UK time, Wednesday morning Australian time. You can follow me at Aguna Tez on Twitter. Also, if you're looking, you have a bet and stuff, you can jump on Punting Pirates Facebook group and throw tips and stuff out there as well and predictions. Okay, good night, goodbye, and see you later. Thank you. See you next week.